Good afternoon, honorable judges. I am Queendy Scalova from SMA Nsdc, and as the opposition team, I strongly disagree on proposition's views of bringing student loans to Indonesia. What are student loans, you may ask? Student loans is a specialized type of financing designed to help students cover the costs of higher education, including tuition, books, room, board, living expenses, whatever the students need. Borrowers repay the principal and accumulated interest usually in installments or after completing and leaving their studies. It might sound good on paper, but its systems and interests are predatory. Though the proposition acknowledges that the U.S. systems of student loans are flawed and only add more burdens to its students by trapping them in debt for life. Proposition claims that they would like to adopt Singapore's systems of student loans instead. Proposition's claims are flawed. Proposition's ideas can only be implemented if we were to have a trustworthy government. Singapore's model succeeds because Singapore's economic conditions and governments are fundamentally different. Singapore has a much higher GDP per capita than Indonesia. To those who are unaware about what GDP is a vital economic metric used to estimate the average income per person and gauge a nation's standard of living. Continuing, Singapore's model succeeds because it operates within a wealthy, efficient, and high employment economy. Indonesia lacks many of those structural advantages, meaning the same policy may produce far worse outcomes when scaled to a larger and poorer and less administratively centralized country. Proposition claims this model is different than the US systems, yet both systems fundamentally normalize students to finance education through long-term debt. Proposition claims that the government can sustain this system because loans are repaid, but default, administrative inefficiency, and corruption can severely weaken repayment systems. They also claim universities need student loans to survive financially, but according to the Bennett hypothesis, easy access to loans can incentivize universities to continuously increase tuition fees. To those who are unaware, the Bennett hypothesis is an economic theory suggesting that increases in federal student financial aid can lead directly to higher college tuition costs. Moreover, propositions claims that lifelong debt is better than no education at all, but this creates a false dilemma because alternatives like public subsidies, tuition reduction, and expanded grants already exists. For example, ITB, Institute of Technology in Bandung, they employ a combination of public subsidies, tuition reductions, and free expanded grants to support the financially struggled students. Like for one point, ITB operates a single tuition fee (UKT) relief program for economically disadvantaged students. Following students' protests over university policies requiring mandatory part-time work in exchange for tuition reduction. This is completely optional, by the way. They also have a zero dropout program that ensures no academically capable students is forced to leave due to financial constraints. On top of that, the Indonesian government provides the Smart Indonesian Student Card, KIPK, which heavily subsidizes tuition and living stipends. Proposition claims that student loans increase access to higher education, but access without affordability merely postpones the financial burden onto students later in life. They assume that graduating automatically means securing a job, but they have failed to consider Indonesia's competitive and stressful job market. Graduating does not automatically mean securing a high-paying job that covers enough for your life expenses while paying for your student debts. Over 1,010,000 university and diploma graduates in Indonesia are unemployed, reflecting the country's ongoing challenge with educated unemployment. This means roughly 1,010,000 1,010,000 degree holders are actively seeking work but unable to secure positions. Proposition claims that loan systems would be highly beneficiary towards Indonesian students without putting into consideration the psychological effects of being in debt. According to research from Japan's epidemiology Journal of Epidemiology, they state that the student loan debt was significantly associated with high possibility of having severe psychological distress after adjusting for coverties. Debt has a profound impact on borrowers' lives as well as well-being. Even for those who make their monthly payments, many make sacrifices to do so, including staying in unsatisfactory jobs and delaying home ownership of starting a family. Thus concludes why I firmly believe that Proposition Team's views on student debt is wrong. I thank you all for your time.